Once upon a time, there was a lovely, sweet, adorable and kind young woman, and her name was Manky Hardup. Now she had a sister, and her sister wasn't quite as sweet, lovable and as kind as she was, but still she was quite nice, and her name was Mardy Hardup. And those two sisters got along so well, they hardly ever argued. Well, they argued sometimes, I suppose. Well, all right, they argued all the time, but listen, they loved each other very much. And the two sisters lived here in Hardup Hall with their father, Baron Hardup. And yeah, that was it. No one else lived here. And they all lived happily ever after, and that's the end of the story. Thank you for listening. See you later. You are? Cinderella? Who's that? Never heard of her. Do I have to? Oh, all right then. Oh dear. All right. Apparently, I have to tell you about this other girl that we lived with called Cinderella. How best to describe Cinderella? Well, she was rubbish. A complete loser. She was nowhere near as lovely as I am, certainly not as attractive. I mean, everybody said so. My sister said so, I say so. Everyone. Cinderella was my stepsister, and she was so annoying. I mean, even her name is annoying, isn't it? Cinderella. It's just so wet. Oh, Manky, she'd say to me. Oh, you look so lovely today. Oh, Manky, she'd say to me. Let me help you carry those heavy things into the house. Oh, Manky, she'd say to me. You're the best sister ever. Yeah, whatever, Cinderella, you little creep. So annoying that I had to send her off to do all the housework, just to keep her out the way. It was for her own good, really. So Cinders did all the cleaning. She swept the floor, she washed the dishes, changed the beds, cleaned the clothes. And she was very happy to do all that. Oh, Cinderella loved being a servant. As far as I know. I mean, I never asked her about it. She also slept in the cellar in front of the fire on a straw bed with the mice. Oh, she loved mice, you see. She wanted to spend all night with them. She loved them so much. Well, she insisted, and who am I to make her change her mind? What happened next? Oh, yes. It just so happened that the prince of the land was throwing a ball. Not a bouncy ball, but a dancey ball. Yeah, a big old dance, and everybody in the land was invited. Well, everyone who was rich and well-connected. Now, it just so happened that my father was rich and well-connected, and so my sister and I were to receive an invitation each. And one day, there came a knock on the door. Cinderella! I shouted, because I was much too busy to open the door myself. Now, who should come in but the prince's messenger carrying an envelope in his hand? Oh, I was so excited! I love a good ball, me. I eagerly tore open the envelope and pulled out an invitation. Oh, it was written on gold paper. It had the little crinkly edges, the flowery writing. It was dead posh. And I read, you are cordially, don't know what that means, invited to the prince's ball at the royal palace this Saturday night. 7 p.m. till late, bring a bottle. Oh my goodness. I passed another invitation over to my sister, and then imagine my surprise. Imagine my shock. Imagine my horror. Well, I looked into the envelope, and there was a third invitation in there. Who on earth could that be for? I mean, there's no other young ladies in the house. I pulled out the invitation and read the name on it. Cinderella. That can't be right, surely. The servant girl. I mean, she can't go. Everyone would laugh at her, what with her raggedy clothing and her dirty face. And as soon as the messenger had gone, my sister and I tore her invitation into tiny little pieces and threw it onto the fire. Now, I know what you're thinking, but it was for her own good, really. I mean, I couldn't have lived with myself if Cinderella had gone to the ball and everyone had made fun of her. Any road, the day of the ball came, and it was time for me and my sis to get our glad rags on. What is that floating around? Cinderella! I called. She could help. It's not like she had anything better to do. So she came in and she did our hair and she got us dressed and she put on our slap and oh, I tell you what, she did a good job, even if I say so myself. She seemed quite glad that we were going out and going to enjoy ourselves and not at all jealous that she wasn't going. I almost felt bad for tearing up her invitation. But then I remembered that I'd saved her from all that embarrassment. I am actually a really nice person, and I always think of other people. So anyway, I then locked Cinderella back into her cellar and went outside to wait for my carriage, and eventually arrived, and myself and my sister got in, and off we went to the royal palace. Oh, the ball was magnificent. Hundreds of people chatting and dancing and eating. Oh, the buffet. There was so much laid on. Chicken drumsticks, vol au vents, cheesy pineapple things on sticks. Oh, all that sort of thing. It was great. People were enjoying themselves. They were chatting, they were dancing, they were eating. Sometimes they were chatting and dancing and eating all at the same time. It was that kind of party. And I had a turn dancing with the prince. Oh, it was lovely. And then my sister had a turn dancing with the prince, but she's not as good a dancer as me. She's got great big clumpy feet. Yeah, the prince much preferred me. And then suddenly, a great hush fell upon the ballroom. And we all, as one, turned to look up the staircase that led up to the great double doors. For at the top of the stairs stood a girl. And she wore this amazing dress, adorned in all the colours of the heavens. The moon shone silver at her waist, and the sun rose in her hair, and on her feet were shoes made of crystal. And when they caught the light from the many chandeliers, they sparkled like stars. I mean, it still wasn't as nice as my dress, but she looked okay. The mystery woman tripped lightly down the stairs. I mean, she walked down them. She didn't trip down the stairs, although, to be honest, I wish she had done, for the prince made an instant beeline for her, all gooey eyes and lovey-dovey. And the prince and the mystery woman, they danced together the rest of the evening. Yeah, no one else got a look in, and I was the best dancer there. And the way those two looked into each other's eyes, oh, it made me sick. In fact, I was sick, into a potted fern. But then something very strange happened. The clock struck midnight, like that. And the mystery girl suddenly looked shocked, as if she remembered something very important, and she ran up the stairs and out the double doors. Weirdo, I thought. I knew it. Nobody can be that perfect. And I tried to get the prince's attention. Hooey, Princey! Maybe he would dance with me again, but no, he just ran up the stairs after the girl. Only he stopped about halfway up and he picked up one of her crystal shoes. And he stared at it for what must have been about a minute, and then he just left. Well, that was it for the party, really. We all just shuffled off home, embarrassed. The next day there was a knock on the door. Cinderella! I shouted, because I was busy cutting my toenails. Cinders opened the door, and it was the royal messenger again, only this time he was accompanied by the prince himself. Oh, your Majesty, I said, and I curtsied and bustled around him, because he's so important, Oh, maybe he'd come to his senses, and he'd realised that I was the best wife material last night after all. Whomsoever this slipper fits, the prince shall marry, said the messenger. I mean, it wasn't a slipper, was it? It was a shoe. And I told him as much. Anyway, brilliant! It's bound to fit my foot. I mean, my feet are so tiny and dainty, and I have just cut my toenails. So I sat down on a chair, and the prince knelt down, and he pushed that shoe onto my dainty little feet. And you know what? Can you believe it? It didn't fit. Even when I took off my thick winter socks, it still didn't fit. What a swizz! Anyway, my sister had a go, and of course it didn't fit on her great big clompers either, did it?
Are there any other ladies in this house?
Asked the prince. No, I said, none at all. I live here, said this really annoying voice from behind me, and I turned, and it was that Cinderella. The cheek! I mean, she's a servant! I mean, a prince would never marry a servant. An actress, yeah, but never a servant. But the prince smiled and said, well, that he'd promised to try the shoe on every young lady in the land. So Cinderella plumped herself down on the chair without so much as a by your leave and revealed her smelly, scabby little foot. And that's the end of the story. Nothing else happened, and I lived happily ever after. The end. You are. Yeah, all right, there's no need to go on. All right, I'll tell you the end of the story. All right, here we go. The slipper fit Cinderella's foot perfectly, and as she and the prince gazed into each other's eyes, realizing that they knew each other from the ball, a fairy godmother appeared, for some reason, and turned Cinder's rags into a beautiful dress with a wave of her wand. And apparently this was the same fairy godmother that had disguised Cinderella for the ball the other night, and told her that she'd had to leave by midnight, or some magic spell had wear off or something. And my sister and I recognised her, and we apologised for being nasty to her all these years. And in the end she forgave us because she's really nice, and she married the princess and lived happily ever after, and that really is the end of our story. And the moral of this story is never tear up. No, that's not right. Always make sure you tie your shoes properly when you're on the. No, that's not right either. Just be nice to each other, and that's it. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this story, a story entitled Manky Hardo, or Cinderella as it's sometimes known. Tatty bye!